The night before I was to marry the Prince Regent, my father threatened me with my dowry, forcing me to give the marriage to my sister who had just been found and brought home. I didn't refuse, because I have been reborn. In my past life, I refused, so my sister, on the day I gave birth, strangled my child to death and set a fire to burn me alive. She only knew that the Prince Regent doted on me, but in reality, the Prince Regent's affection for me was just a pretense. He had other motives. My father tied me up and sent me to Jiangnan overnight. Half a month later, my father wrote me a letter, begging me to return quickly, because the Prince Regent wouldn't marry anyone but me. When the Prince Regent came looking for me, his eyes were full of adoration, but I chose to break off the engagement, inherit my maternal grandfather's family business, enter the Jianghu, and become the young mistress of the Salt and Iron Manor, because I discovered that relying on a man is not as good as relying on myself. Older sister, I want to marry the Prince Regent in your place. I'm your full-blooded younger sister. You'll agree, won't you? Song Wenju said this while holding my hand, her face full of sincerity. This trick again. Ever since she was found among the common folk and brought back by me, she has been using our kinship to threaten me, making me give in to her more. At first, I didn't mind. I'm the older sister, so it was fine to give in to my delicate younger sister a little. But then she used this excuse to snatch the ruby hairpin the Prince Regent gave me, snatch my small kitchen, and even set her sights on my courtyard. In my previous life, I gave in to her on all of these, which made her appetite grow bigger and bigger. She even wanted to snatch my future husband. That was my bottom line. In my past life, I didn't agree. The Regent Wei Hang and I were deeply in love. There was no way I would just hand him over to someone else. I never thought she'd hold a grudge against me for it. On the surface, she didn't say anything, still calling me older sister affectionately and running to the prince's mansion every few days. I thought she at least cherished our sisterly bond, so I didn't pay it much mind. But she secretly used the gold and jewels I gave her to bribe the mansion's physician, telling me to eat more under the pretext of it being good for the baby, wanting to make the fetus too large and cause a difficult birth. Fortunately, I had my own judgment and avoided this disaster, but she still wouldn't give up. On the day of my labor, she took matters into her own hands, strangling my newborn child to death. Then she stomped on the baby's corpse and said to me, "Don't be afraid, I'll send you down to be with your child right away. From now on, the prince is mine." I couldn't bear the pain of losing my child. Unfortunately, having just given birth, I was completely exhausted and could only watch helplessly as she knocked over a candlestick and burned me to death. For her to repay my kindness with such malice, did she ever consider that if I hadn't spent years searching for her, how would she have ever been found and brought back? I did so much for her. Not only was she ungrateful, she even killed me and my child, all just to snatch a man. She's simply inhumane. She's a monster. She should have stayed among the common folk for the rest of her life as a concubine to that drunkard, and never have been found. Unfortunately, by the time I was reborn, she had already returned to the manor. Mom was gone, but she had coaxed Dad into spoiling her rotten, so much that she became lawless in the manor and didn't respect me at all. Sis, what are you spacing out for? You still haven't answered me. Seeing me dazed, Song Wenju impatiently gave me a shove, acting extremely spoiled. You want to marry the regent? No. What will happen to me then? I pretended to be shocked and fell to the ground, looking completely at a loss. That's right. I'm prettier than you and better at pleasing men. My past men adored me. Once the regent marries me, he'll forget all about you. I can bring more glory to our manor than you can. After saying that, she tugged on my dad's sleeve, signaling for him to pressure me. She's prettier than me. Is she? I never noticed. It's true she's better at posturing seductively, but those are just cheap tricks unfit for high society. She really knows how to flatter herself. Dad, do you think so too? I looked up at my dad, wanting the same answer I'd heard once before in my past life, so I could completely sever our father-daughter bond. Qinghe, your younger sister has suffered so much wandering outside all these years, and I think she understands men better than you do. Just let her have it. To my dad, both were his daughters, and he'd benefit no matter who married him. Since his younger daughter wanted to marry, he'd just let her. Later, once his younger daughter wins the Prince Regent's heart, he can just marry off his older daughter to some other high official. It's all the same. The younger daughter has been a concubine before, so it's already harder for her to find a good match. To be able to marry into the prince's residence is a huge blessing. He is happy for his younger daughter. What if I don't agree? I looked at him with a heartbroken expression. I was waiting for his final answer, which would decide what I would do next. Then the dowry your mother left for you. I'll give it all to your younger sister. Don't even think about taking a single cent away. He gave the same answer as in my past life. In my past life, in order to marry the Prince Regent, I really didn't take a single cent of the dowry my mother left me. On the way to the wedding procession, I was mocked quite a bit for this, with people saying my maiden family didn't love me. Fortunately, for managing my maiden family's fields and shops all these years, I had also secretly saved up a large sum of money. Otherwise, I would have truly been at a loss. I can give the Prince Regent to my younger sister, just don't take away my dowry. I pretended to compromise helplessly and relented. Then thank you, elder sister, for making this happen, but I'm still not at ease with just this. Dad, you should send elder sister out of the city tomorrow morning. Anywhere is fine, just don't let the prince see her for now. Seeing that I finally relented, Song Wenju came over to link my arm with a beaming smile. She thought the position of Prince Regent's consort was already hers for the taking. Fine, you can go hide out in Jiangnan tomorrow. When their relationship gets better, you can come back. My dad never refused Song Wenzu's requests, especially when he saw how easy I was to handle. But I don't want to go to Jiangnan. How could I go willingly? That way, when Wei Heng looks into it later and finds out I agreed to go to Jiangnan on my own, he would definitely be angry with me. Not going isn't an option. If you don't go, I'll have someone tie you up and take you. It's settled. After my dad finished speaking, he waved his hand and had two burly old maids take me away. It was already late at night, and he needed a good night's rest, as he still had to deal with Wei Heng coming to pick up the bride tomorrow morning. And so, in everyone's eyes, I was unwillingly escorted back to my room by the two old maids. The next day, before dawn, I was roughly tied up and shoved into a shabby-looking horse carriage, sent on the road to Jiangnan. Why is it you? Just as the wedding ceremony was about to begin, Wei Heng sensed that the figure opposite him was wrong, and yanked off the bridal veil, revealing Song Wenzu's face. Your Highness, I have admired you for a long time. My sister suddenly fell ill, and Dad was afraid of missing the auspicious time, so he had me get into the bridal sedan, Song Wenju said pretentiously, wiping her tears while throwing herself into Wei Heng's arms. Dressed in the royal mansion's attire but acting completely like a concubine, but she overlooked one point. Wei Heng was not the son of a minor official she had married before. Not only was he smart, he was also accustomed to all sorts of schemes. The many women who tried to seduce Wei Heng before had never succeeded, including top courtesans from the brothels. This act of hers was truly not worth a second glance in Wei Heng's eyes. If she was sick, why didn't you summon an imperial physician to treat her last night? Whether she's sick, or you want to swap the bride, is clear at a glance. After Wei Heng finished speaking, he sat right down in the Grand Master chair nearby, waved his hand, and ordered people to investigate check if I was still at the Song Manor, to check if I was sick, and to check all the details of the day, giving Song Wenju absolutely no chance to make excuses. Your Highness, my sister is really sick. My looks are no inferior to my sister's, and the auspicious time is almost here, so let's just proceed with the ceremony first. Let's not delay the important matter of bringing good fortune to the Empress Dowager. Seeing that Wei Heng wasn't furious when he spoke, Song Wenju thought there was still room for negotiation and moved closer again. She dared to swap the bride because she was certain that this marriage was for the purpose of bringing good fortune to the long-ill Empress Dowager in the palace, and that even if the bride was swapped, the wedding ceremony would still have to be held. You want to get married that badly? Then this prince will grant your wish. You can marry his godson. Wei Heng pointed casually, assigning Song Wenju to the godson of a limping, gloomy old eunuch. The old eunuch didn't have much real power. The reason he could be at the wedding was that he had served in the Empress Dowager's palace for many years, earning credit if not for his achievements, then for his hard work. And his godson didn't come today, because that little eunuch died last month. Song Wenju is marrying him in a ghost marriage. People who knew the inside story immediately looked at Song Wenju with sympathetic eyes. This girl's life was pretty much ruined. Who is his son? I don't want to marry his son. Your Highness, it's you I admire. Song Wenju still wanted to struggle and grab Wei Heng's thigh, to act coquettishly with him and beg for mercy. Daughter-in-law, stop struggling, come back home with us. Your husband is still waiting underground for you to perform the wedding ceremony. The old eunuch tactfully grabbed Song Wenju by the collar and started dragging her outside. No, I'm not going. Dad, save me, help me beg His Highness. Song Wenju was scared now, but it was too late. With a person like Wei Heng, if he speaks to you in an icy tone, you can still be saved. If he speaks to you very calmly, that means he's angry and is thinking about how to kill you. Now, upon hearing this, Wei Heng gave my dad an ambiguous smile. It was simply impossible to tell if we would live or die. Father-in-law has grown senile and is unfit for the position of minister. This prince will write to the Empress Dowager and my imperial brother to have you removed from your post. Your Highness, we know we were wrong. Please spare us. My dad was so scared he prostrated himself on the ground. Because of my relationship with him, after our engagement, Wei Heng was always polite to his father-in-law every time he visited the Song Manor, so he really started seeing himself as Wei Heng's dad, even daring to help Song Wenju commit fraud in Wei Heng's marriage. Now seeing Wei Heng ruin his future in just a few words, my dad finally got scared, his whole body trembling, but it was too late. The words Wei Heng had spoken were like spilt water, impossible to take back. What were you doing earlier? You dote on your younger daughter so much. How sad Qinghe must be. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. My marriage to Qinghe was personally bestowed by the Empress Dowager. Your Song family defied an imperial edict, which is a capital crime. But you are my father-in-law after all. I will spare your life. After your assets are confiscated, you will be demoted to a commoner. The servants in your household who were involved in this matter will all be dealt with according to the law. This wedding banquet will resume when Qinghe is found. After Wei Heng finished speaking, he ignored the wails of the people around him and strode away. A perfectly good wedding banquet was broken up just like that. If it weren't inappropriate to shed blood at a wedding banquet, this place would have long been a river of blood. Daughter, return at once. When I received the carrier pigeon message from my dad, I was in a small town on the road, after traveling for 2 days, seeing that I wouldn't make it to the wedding in time. The 2 servant grannies responsible for guarding me stopped tying me up, but they still watched me constantly, afraid I would run away. On this whole journey, I was urged by them to hurry. Sitting in the horse carriage all day, the road was bumpy, and I was often jolted until I was dizzy and my vision blurred, so I could only sleep to pass the time. On this day, just as I had settled down in an inn, I received a message delivered by a carrier pigeon from my dad. When I saw the few short words on it, I vaguely started to look forward to it. Of course, I was looking forward to their current fate. The 2 old women in charge of watching me saw my calm expression and asked suspiciously, "Miss, what's with that expression? What did the master write in the letter? Did that regent prince accept the second miss?" I nodded and lied. "They're already married. Can I be free now?" The 2 old women believed it to be true, because I had no reason to lie to them. At night, through the window, I heard the 2 of them talking. Beaming with joy, one said, "The second miss is truly blessed with good fortune. She looks just like an enchantress who knows how to win people over. We've sided with the second miss, and now that she has become a princess consort, well, I'll enjoy a good life from now on." The other one said, "We can't let the eldest miss ruin the second miss' good fortune. We have to treat the eldest miss even worse, so we'll have something to boast about when we go to the princess consort to ask for a reward in the future." I couldn't ask for more. I wanted to completely break ties with the Song family. The more miserable I looked, the less I would be scolded for being unfilial. After that, the 2 old women really did as they said. Not only did they tie my hands behind my back and not let me walk out of the carriage freely, they also cut back on my food. I didn't fight back. I endured it all. In fact, if I really wanted to run, they couldn't have tied me up at all. I know martial arts. The master of Saltiron Villa was my late maternal grandfather. Before I turned 12, I was always at Saltiron Villa learning kung fu from him. It's just that after returning to the capital, because my parents disapproved, I could only practice martial arts secretly every night. No one knew about this except for my personal maid. One day, as the carriage was traveling on the main road, it was suddenly stopped by guards on horseback. In this carriage, is the person sitting inside the eldest legitimate daughter of the Song family, Song Qinghe. The 2 old women didn't know what was going on. After exchanging a look, one of them lied. "No, there's no Song Qinghe here." I knew Wei Heng had sent people to find me, so I immediately called out, "I'm here." And then, the old woman who lifted the curtain to answer let out a blood-curdling scream. "Ah, help." Her voice stopped abruptly. In just a moment, fresh blood stained the carriage curtain. That old woman fell straight out of the carriage, her eyes wide open. After squirming on the ground a couple of times, she was thoroughly dead. The other old woman was too scared to lift the curtain. She knelt in the carriage, kowtowing non-stop. "Sir officer, I'm just a servant. Whatever it is, take it out on our young miss. She's the legitimate daughter of the Song family. She really sold me out completely." The guard said nothing more. After reaching out and dragging the coachman off the carriage, he stepped to the side and said respectfully, "Your Highness, we found the princess consort. She's right here on the carriage." That old woman inside, upon seeing the Prince Regent himself come to find me, immediately sensed things were bad. She flung open the carriage curtain, jumped down, and tried to run, but was kicked to the ground by the guard, unable to get up for the longest time. Vicious servant, surrender at once. Kicked to the ground, that old woman lay there twitching and cried out, "Your Highness, spare me." It was all master and second miss orders. Wei Hing paid her no mind and personally lifted the carriage curtain. He had been full of fire. The words complaining about me easily agreeing to swap marriages with Song Wenju still on the tip of his tongue, but upon seeing my hands tied and how much thinner I'd become, his anger instantly subsided by a lot. He quickly came over, bent down to untie the ropes behind my back, his voice chillingly cold. "They dared to treat you like this. Vicious servants bullying their master. Kill them all." I didn't object. Those two old women were bribed with just a little bit of silver from Song Wenju, and they dared to disrespect me repeatedly on the road. They were treacherous slaves who betrayed their master from the start. They don't even think about how all these years, my dad is someone who doesn't manage the household, and if I hadn't been managing the household shops and estates, where would their monthly allowance have come from? After eating their fill, they turn around and disrespect their master. So what if they were killed? After Wei Hing finished speaking, he started scolding me with a cold face. "Qinghe, you have some nerve, deliberately letting your dad and your sister ruin the wedding banquet, just to use me, this prince, as your weapon. What a deep scheme." He originally thought that after this incident, I would definitely cry and beg for his forgiveness, and coax him until he wasn't angry anymore, but I didn't. These past few days on the road, I've thought about my past life and this life over and over again, and I've come to understand one thing: why my dad and sister in my past life dared to hurt me so unscrupulously, even though they knew the prince doted on me, was because it's true that Wei Hing doted on me, but his love for me was fake. Although he doted on me, he just saw me as a piece of clothing, a possession. He doted on me with ulterior motives. He didn't care at all about my situation back at my family's home. I don't believe that word of how my dad and sister bullied me at home didn't reach his ears before I married him. He clearly knew I was being bullied at my family's home, but he pretended not to know, thinking it's better to avoid trouble, till the matter harmed his own interests. Then he would make a move. So, I don't want this perfect son-in-law anymore. His special affection is nothing special after all. So when he was the first to jump off the carriage and waved at me from outside, I suddenly said very calmly, "Thank you for saving me, Your Highness. Let's just part ways here. I, your humble servant, have a wretched fate, and perhaps am not blessed enough to become the regent's princess consort." Wei Hing almost thought he had misheard. "What did you say?" I heard my own slightly hoarse voice, yet it was very firm. "I, your humble servant, wish to break off the engagement. In my past life, he failed to protect me. He clearly knew my sister treated me badly, yet he let her into the delivery room and didn't send anyone to protect me, causing my child to die a tragic death at my sister's hands. This shows that my child and I were probably not as important to him as I thought. He can't protect me, so what's the use of him?" On the way back to the capital, Wei Hing was so angry with me that he went on ahead. Before he left, he said, "This prince will give you 10 days to consider. If you still insist on breaking off the engagement after 10 days, this prince will grant you a letter of annulment." After he finished speaking, he spurred his horse on and left, without asking if my stomach was uncomfortable after being hungry for so long, or if my hands, red and swollen from being tied up, were feeling any better. My heart sank to the bottom bit by bit, as I thought, he didn't love me as much as I imagined. First, there were multiple chance encounters, then a marriage proposal, and he even secretly sent me a love token. Yet he doesn't truly love me. There must be some ulterior motive for him to marry me. In my previous life, I married such a powerful and high-ranking husband, yet ended up with such a fate. I can only say I was blind and couldn't judge people clearly, coaxed by a few of his casual words. I truly believed he loved me and eagerly offered everything I had to him, including the jade ring my maternal grandfather once gave me, which could mobilize all the merchant ships of the Salt Gang. Merchant ships, the jade ring. So it was because of this he approached me and married me for this, right? Thinking of this, I took out the pale green jade ring that was strung on a red thread around my neck and hidden in my collar, and carefully placed it into my pouch. This might become my new support along the way, perhaps to make me yield on my own. News about my father and younger sister was passed to my ears, piece by piece. First, my younger sister. Although her reputation was ruined and she had committed a capital crime, Wei Hing spared her life. He just married her off to a dead young eunuch in a ghost marriage, which caused her no substantial harm. And the eunuch's godfather turned out to be an attendant by the side of Wei Heng's empress mother. On the surface, this was a punishment for my sister, but secretly, that eunuch was Wei Heng's man. If Wei Heng signaled for him to treat Song Wenju well in private, then Song Wenju was just being protected in a different way. It's not that I insist on thinking the worst of people, but Song Wenju and Wei Heng's full-blooded younger sister, Princess Wei Yang, are birds of a feather who both love to mess around with different men. They hooked up and became friends at some point, and Wei Heng dotes on his sister, Princess Wei Yang, so it's possible that he's secretly protecting Song Wenju for his sister's sake. And then there's my dad, as an accomplice for secretly swapping the prince's mansion's bride. He should have been exiled to the bitter, cold borderlands, never to return to the capital city, but Wei Heng just nonchalantly settled the matter by confiscating his assets. Judging from how Wei Heng handled them, I can tell that the decision I'm making now is the right one. But the old woman sent by Wei Heng was sucking up, saying, "His Highness is doing all this for you, Miss Song. Do you feel vindicated now? This is His Highness' sincerity towards you. A true case of a bowtie smile is worth a kingdom." She also tried to persuade me, "Miss Song, your father no longer holds an official post, nor does he have any wealth. He now lives in the most dilapidated alley in the capital city, Pauper's Moat Alley. If you insist on breaking the engagement, you'll have to go back and live in that Pauper's Moat Alley, where rats are crawling everywhere." Is this a threat to make me quickly change my mind and enter the prince's mansion? Too bad they had the wrong idea. My dad lives in Xianxia Alley, and it has nothing to do with where I live, because I have money that half of the dowry my mom left, which my dad had given me. I had my confidant take it out the back door when Song Wenju was getting married, and give it to a reliable person to sell on consignment. It's already been exchanged for banknotes now. Besides, in all the years I've managed the estate's farmlands and shops for my dad, I've also secretly saved up a good amount of my own money, all of which is kept in a house outside that's registered under my confidant's name. After returning to the capital, I didn't rush to retrieve my money. Instead, I made a trip to Xianxia Alley. When I saw my dad, he was sitting by the door sighing, constantly looking out. When he saw me, he grabbed my hand with tears streaming down his old face. "Good daughter, hurry and go plead with the prince. Ask him to reinstate your father's position." But a single sentence from me made him so angry he nearly fainted. I said, "Dad, after something like this, I have no face to marry into the prince's manor anymore. I've already proposed to the prince that we cancel the engagement. As for getting your post back, you can talk to him yourself." My dad never expected me to break off the engagement with Wei Heng at a time like this. His fingers were trembling with rage. "Rebellious daughter, are you trying to kill me?" I just found it laughable, and I said, "Isn't what's happening to you today all your own fault? Back then, who forced me to give up my fiancé? And who was it that drove me away to Jiangnan? Father, have you forgotten all of that? Now I'm listening to you, no longer thinking about the marriage with the prince's mansion. You should be happy." My dad picked up a stick from the roadside to hit me. I didn't dodge right away, but instead raised my hand, letting the stick hit the betrothal bracelet on my wrist from Wei Heng, and it shattered in half. Then I feigned surprise and said, "Oh, this is the love token between me and the prince. It's broken, so this marriage should definitely be called off now. It shows that the prince and I are not meant to be." My dad looked at the bracelet, which was shattered into several pieces, and felt extremely pained. This platinum-worthy bracelet, it was a real pity that it was gone. If he had discovered this bracelet earlier and demanded it from me, maybe he could have moved back into a better residence. He was so angry at me his head throbbed, and he waved his hand to shoo me away. "Get lost. I don't have a daughter like you." I said all right, then took out a letter of kinship severance. "Once you sign this, it'll get lost immediately and won't stay here to be an eyesore to you. In the future, even if I offend the prince, it will have nothing to do with you. How about it?" Seeing my determined stance on calling off the engagement, and also fearing that Wei Heng would take his anger out on him because of me in the future, my dad actually agreed on the spot. "Fine, from now on, I will only have one daughter, Wenju. Wenju is more promising than you. Although she was matched in a ghost marriage, at least now she can still wear gold and silver. In the future, by relying on that big tree, the princess, maybe she can even make a comeback." So it was still about sucking up to Song Wenju, which counts as a happy accident. The process was very smooth, and I was very satisfied with the result. I didn't say much more. That same afternoon, I took this letter of severing family ties to the yamen, and after getting the yamen seal stamped, the matter of severing ties was considered done. Then I took this severance letter to change my household registration. From now on, I would no longer be the Song family's daughter. Song Qinghe. I changed my surname to my maternal grandfather's, Duan, and changed my name to Duani Dao. That night, I didn't go see my confidant. Instead, I pawned a jade pendant and stayed at an inn in the city. I was waiting for Wei Heng to show up on his own accord. After all, today was the 10-day deadline. Wei Heng was more composed than I had imagined. He did not come looking for me that night. The next morning, he personally delivered the annulment letter and the wedding invitation. Placing both items on the table, Wei Heng said, "Whether you marry me or call off the engagement, it's all up to you. I never force people." He sounded magnanimous, but when I reached out to take the annulment letter, he grabbed my hand. "Do you really want to annul our engagement? Why, I dote on you so much. I've even forgiven you for agreeing to swap the bride. Song Qinghe, don't you have a heart?" He spoke as if he were about to cry, but I wasn't moved at all. I only felt disgusted. I flung his hand away. "Yes, this commoner wishes to annul the engagement with your highness, because your doting on me isn't sincere at all. If you truly pitied me, you would have known I've been tormented at home by my father and sister for many days, where each day felt like a year, but just because I didn't say anything, you pretended not to know. You ignored my suffering because you don't have me in your heart. You're just putting on an act. Between us, the one who has no heart is you, your highness. What you're after is the jade ring my maternal grandfather left me, right? You were afraid this ring would fall into the hands of the third prince, who was a threat to you. So when you heard he intended to meet with me, you made the first move, manufactured a chance encounter, and made me secretly fall for you. You're truly despicable, but I am of humble status and my words carry no weight. I can't fight you, so we'll compromise. Rest assured, this ring will not fall into the third prince's hands. I plan to take over the salt and iron manor left by my grandfather myself, become a salt merchant, and never marry in this life. I only ask that your highness be magnanimous and spare my life. This common girl only has one life, and I don't want to die in the prince's manor. I won't be keeping you company for the rest of my life." After hearing my words, Wei Heng was greatly shocked. He never thought that I, a girl from a noble house who seemed so easy to fool and good-tempered, would have thought this matter through so thoroughly. Leaving him no chance to even argue, he let go of the hand reaching for me and only asked, "What if I am unwilling?" I shot my hand out with the speed of a lightning bolt, directly placing a dagger against his neck. "Then we'll all be destroyed together. I'll kill you, your highness, and then become a target for the imperial court's pursuit." Living as a fugitive on the run, Wei Heng praised. What swift technique. Wei Heng never thought that I would actually know martial arts. I was a world apart from the gentle and virtuous lady in his impression. My personality was fierce, my gaze resolute. This version of me felt so unfamiliar to him. He had been with me for so long, yet he had never understood me. This caused an inexplicable panic to rise in his heart. Was it because I was starting to slip from his control, or was it because he, too, would be reluctant to see me go? He couldn't figure it out, nor did he have time to, because his life was still in my hands. After a long, silent standoff, Wei Heng asked me, "You really want go and seek refuge with the third prince? Is he willing to spare my life, to show my loyalty?" I immediately swore an oath. I, the commoner Duani Dao, hereby swear that I will never pledge allegiance to the third prince. If I violate this oath, may my guts be pierced and rot until I die, and may I never be reincarnated for all eternity. Wei Heng finally relented and let me take the annulment letter. He said, "From now on, our paths will not cross. Take care of yourself. We're even." I didn't reply, feeling there was nothing left to say. To be able to see his true colors earlier in this life, and to be able to leave alive and well, was already a great fortune. That same day, I rented a horse carriage without hesitation, brought my trusted maidservant, and left the city together, heading straight for the Saltiron Villa located in the heartland of the Central Plains. 3 years later, on a pleasure boat in the river towns of Jiangnan, your Song Qinghe, when a blade was held to her neck, Song Wenju subconsciously looked up at me, just as she was about to shout "Spare me, hero." She froze. The woman before her was dressed like someone from the martial world. Not only was she wearing leather boots, long pants, and bracers, she was also holding a long saber, with a flexible sword coiled around her waist, and her skin had turned a very healthy wheat color from the sun and rain. She almost didn't recognize that the person before her was me, the well-bred young lady named Song Qinghe from 3 years ago. "My name is Duani Dao now, and am here to send you on your way." After saying that, without any nonsense, I ended her with a single slash. Seeing her clutch the wound on her neck and fall onto the bow of the boat in disbelief, I felt a thrill of having gotten my great revenge. "Sister, spare me." She looked at me, her breath as faint as a thread. a hint of remorse finally seeming to appear in her eyes. It's too late. Did you spare me in our last life? Did you spare my child? Do you know the pain of being burned by a raging fire? Do you know the pain of a mother losing her child? In all these years since I was reborn, every time I open my eyes, the image of my child dying tragically at her hands is right before me, and I can't sleep peacefully day after day. What can relieve sorrow? Only revenge. Watching her finally breathe her last and get thrown into the river by the boatman to feed the fish, my heart finally found a moment of peace. I could finally tell my child's spirit in heaven that as a mother, I have avenged her. It's been 3 years. For 3 years, she has been hiding in the capital city. On the surface, she was mourning the dead little eunuch, but in reality, she fooled around all day with Princess Weiyang, whose consort had died. Princess Weiyang even gifted her 2 pretty boy lovers. She lived a very carefree and unrestrained life. Weiheng's punishment for her was just too disgusting. When she was in the capital city, I couldn't touch her, but I couldn't swallow this insult, so I kept waiting for an opportunity. The opportunity for her to leave the capital city. A month ago, a scout reported that Song Wenju had come to Jiangnan with Princess Weiyang for some fun, so I came looking for her, had someone lure Princess Weiyang away, and led her onto a pleasure boat by the river. Out on the river, it's the Salt Gang's territory. Whatever happens, I call the shots. By the time the people from the government office get here, the evidence will be pretty much all wiped away. A moment later, the surface of the water returned to calm. My lady, give me your blade. A call of my lady interrupted my thoughts. I turned my head to look. My Livian husband, Jiang Qingbai, had already taken out a handkerchief and was carefully cleaning my beloved blade for me, until he was sure he couldn't smell the scent of blood on it. Have you been waiting long? Let's go back. I want to eat the chicken you roast yourself. When I looked at him, my gaze softened considerably. He was different from Wei Heng. Okay, I'll make it for you. With 2 caddies of drunken crab and a pot of newer hong, I'll get drunk with you. Jiang Qingbai readily agreed, not minding at all that I'd go on a drunken rampage and chase him around the courtyard to practice my blade work. The love he gives me is wholehearted. I kill people, he wipes the blade. When people insult me, he doesn't care who they are. He just starts hacking without any nonsense, not caring about right or wrong, only about protecting his wife. The second-ranked assassin on the Jiang's hit list. Setting aside his status as a prodigious talent to be my Livian husband, his love is truly something to show off. Half a day after we both left, Song Wen's body floated to the surface of the river. I heard Princess Weiyang fainted from fright on the spot. She threatened to have Wei Heng, who had just become emperor, come and cause trouble for me, to avenge her good sister. I thought Wei Heng wouldn't come. After all, it was just the death of an insignificant Song Wenju. But he came, half a year later, just when everyone had forgotten about this matter. Wei Heng, after being assassinated in the palace, suddenly brought his men after waking up, traveling through the night from 1,000 miles away, and arrived at the gate of my Yantai villa. He said, he wanted to see me. Is your majesty here to avenge Song Wenju, or to eradicate the roots? Amidst the curling fragrance of tea, I asked this question uneasily. The weak can't fight the strong. I didn't dare to confront him heated, so I had no choice but to send someone to invite him in, serve him a cup of light tea, and ask him to take a seat. In truth, I secretly didn't want to see him again. Qinghe, you've lost weight. On the way here, he had 1,000 words he wanted to say to me, but when he truly saw me, he only felt a mix of emotions. The woman before him was tanner and thinner, yet her eyes were brighter than ever. This couldn't help but make him think of how gentle and submissive I used to be, which made him unable to resist wanting to be close. Yes, he remembered. After being assassinated, he hit his head, and when he woke up, a memory from a past life had suddenly appeared in his mind. It turned out he and Qinghe were husband and wife in a past life. He and I were a respectful couple, and for my own sake, I personally presented the jade ring, but because of his negligence, because my younger sister Princess Weiyang said sisters don't hold grudges overnight, he, despite knowing full well that Song Wenju and I were on bad terms, still allowed Song Wenju to enter my delivery room. The day I gave birth was the very day of the palace coup, when he successfully usurped the throne and returned to the estate. He looked at the raging fire burning in the direction of my quarters and was suddenly struck with fear. He was afraid he would never see me again in this life. He desperately tried to rush into the fire but was held back by his loyal servants, watching helplessly as the residence was burned to a blackened crisp. When the fire was finally extinguished and the loyal servants finally let him go, he found 2 skeletal remains in the messy room. One was so small, bruised purple and blue all over with strangulation marks on its neck. It was his child, strangled to death right after being born. The other was me, suffocated to death by the thick, rolling smoke, tightly holding that child in my arms before I died. He suddenly felt that life was meaningless. What was the point of this imperial power? The person he loved was gone. Yes, he loved me, unknowingly, in the bits and pieces of daily life. He had fallen in love with me, this pawn, and had fallen in love with our child, and everything, in that moment, turned to ash. He ignored Princess Wei Yang's pleas and had the murderer Song Wenju executed by slow slicing, but it was no use. He would never see his beloved again, never see the child he had never met. Later, although he had some concubines, every late night, he couldn't help but think of me and that poor child, shedding tears in silence. How he wished we were still alive, how he wished for another chance, but heaven really did give him this chance, and his self in this life still broke my heart. At this very moment, he finally understood why I gave up the position of princess consort back then and insisted on throwing myself into the Jianghu. That's because I knew clearly about his inaction and his indulgence towards Princess Wei Yang, and I was unwilling to place my fate in his hands again. When Wei Heng looked up again, his face was already streaked with tears. Qinghe, Zhen was wrong. Zhen has wronged you in both lifetimes. When he spoke of 2 lifetimes, I already understood. Your Majesty, this means, you've been reborn too. Wei Heng didn't deny it. Every word he spoke was like weeping blood. Qinghe, would you be willing to return to the palace with Zhen? Zhen wants to make you the empress and live a good life with you, and our child. This time he will surely be able to grow up safely. I shook my head. I was incredibly clear-headed at this moment, not mesmerized by the position of empress. I, a commoner, am already married and cannot be your empress. Please go back. No matter how glorious the empress is, she is still just a woman in his backyard, still having to rely on him to live. When he likes you, you can be the empress. When he has a new favorite, you could also be an abandoned wife in the cold palace. How dangerous is it to place one's own fate in the hands of another? It's better to rely on myself and stay among the common people. I am the young master of the salt and iron manor. My fate is in my own hands. My life and death are for me to decide. Even if I die in a foreign land in the future, that would still be my choice, and I won't regret it. Wei Heng said, if you're married, you can get a divorce. I don't care. I still love you. Come back to the palace with me. I shook my head, but I care. I only like Olivian son-in-law. Your Majesty, you cannot do that. So why force the issue? Wei Heng indeed couldn't do it. No matter how much he said he loved me, he was still an emperor. An emperor cares most about his dignity, and he would never, under any circumstances, become Olivian's son-in-law. So Wei Heng sighed. I indeed cannot do that. For the rest of our lives, I will not come to disturb you again. I came to tell you, as long as I am on the throne, I will not let anyone bully you. This is what I owe you. Live a good life from now on. I nodded, remaining composed. Thank you for your kindness, Your Majesty. The bond between Wei Heng and me, after all, ended here. When Wei Heng left, his shoulders slumped, and he seemed a bit dejected. This trip to the Central Plains did not go as smoothly as he had thought, as I was actually unwilling to return to the palace with him. For the rest of his life, he probably won't have any other time to come here and see me. We have truly parted ways for good, and this was our last meeting. He was reborn, yet he still missed out on me, but at least I am still alive. After Wei Heng left, Jiang Qingbai jumped in through the window. He held me in his arms and asked me apprehensively, giving up the title of empress, you really don't regret it? I was very sure. I smiled and gave his cheek a reassuring little peck. I don't regret it. Being the empress is boring as hell. The Jianghu is way more interesting than the palace. Let's go to the frontier in a few days. I want to go see the sights of the frontier, and while we're at it, bring back a wolfskin mattress for our future child to use as a blanket. But Jiang Qingbai looked nervous. I'll go with you to have fun on the frontier, but there's no rush about having a baby. Childbirth is so dangerous. It's fine if we don't have children in this life. You see, the person who loves you will always put you first. Even though his parents had already privately urged him several times, hoping to see him have a child with me before they closed their eyes for the last time, I held his face in my hands and said with a smile, It'll be fine. My health is good now, and with you protecting me, and the divine doctor being your closest friend, there won't be any problems during childbirth. I want to have a child with you that belongs to us. Only after I repeatedly assured him that I could give birth safely did Jiang Qingbai agree to have a child with me. In April of the next year, just as the peaches ripened, our child also came to full term and, with a cry, successfully arrived in this world. As for my dad, I heard he died half a year ago. Since he had no use value, no one collected his body. Someone rolled him up in a straw mat, and threw him into the mass grave, which was what he deserved.